Hello, welcome back to my coverage of the Atlas Mountain Race. In today's video, I'm going to show you what I had in my bags on my bike during the event. A big thank you to Redshift for supporting this video series. They do a range of really great components such as the shock stop seat posts available on their website. So yeah, thanks for the support. Now before I dive into the bags, I'll talk about the gear that I'm wearing. Well, I'm not wearing it now, but what I was wearing in Morocco. So I started with a set of Albion pocket bib shorts. These work really well. I'm really comfortable with them, and yeah, they're having the pockets on the front and the back. Really useful when you're out there and you need to put food and like garments, put them away. I was also wearing a brand new lightweight jersey from Albion in the funky pattern you may have seen out there. So this is going to be out in a few weeks' time. It's basically the same as the current lightweight jersey, but it's got a topographical pattern on there. There'll be, again, more info about that will come out very soon. So that was my kind of basic layer. I'd have a set of socks on and some Shimano shoes, and of course a POC helmet, Team Omani edition, racing in Africa, so it's really great to show some support for the African riders. And yeah, all my other layers would then be in my bags. So when the evenings start to draw in, obviously it is a desert, so it can get quite cold at night. At worst it was probably 2 or 3 degrees, at best it was 10 degrees at night, so you always wanted to put something on, especially when you've been sweating all day out in the heat. So all my other layers would primarily be in the main compartment of my tail fin bag here. So let's open it up and have a look. So the first thing I've got in here is just a merino base layer. So as sunset came along, I'd put this on sort of under my bib straps and put my jersey back on over the top. The next layer I'd use is the lightweight gilet from Albion. Quite often I just have this in my pocket, so if I was sweating really hard on a long descent and I knew I'd be descending for like 30 minutes or something, sometimes I just chuck that on there just to take the chill off. Again, it's a really versatile piece of kit, and you can like scrunch it down really small, so you can put it in pockets, you can squeeze it in small sections of your bag, and you can like hide it away and you don't even know you've got it. Also in here, well, these are the gloves I wore. So these are DHB Aeron mitts. They've got like a kind of a elastic interface chamois palm, which I find works really well and really distributes pressure across your hand. So yeah, I use those for all my events now, so yeah, I keep buying those. They do wear out quite quickly, but for me it's worth having feeling in your hands, so I don't mind spending a bit of money on that. Next in here I've got some arm warmers. Now these are from Defeat, and they're actually merino wool. I'm a big fan of merino arm warmers from Defeat. They fit really well. I've got quite long skinny arms, and for me they work perfectly, and by having merino it just keeps a little bit extra warmth during the colder nights. And also it doesn't smell so bad after a few days on the road, because you know I was pretty horrific by the end of it. Once I've got all those layers on, the next layer to put on, well, there's 2 layers really. There's the lower layer and the upper layer. So on my legs, for this event, rather than taking like knee warmers or leg warmers, I just decided that I'd take some of the Albion 3-season pocket bib tights. Now the reason for that is because I find, because there's such a long night, I knew I'd be wearing them for sort of 12 hours or so. I really like to keep my legs warm, so I'd rather put them on sooner rather than later, so I don't get cold in the first place. If I get cold legs, my knees start aching and then it just gets very miserable. I'm getting old now, I've done a lot of these, so you'll soon learn you need to look after your knees. And what I did was I basically cut the chamois out. So I cut the chamois out of a standard set of the leggings, and then I could put these on over my bib shorts, and then I didn't have to sort of worry about changing too much. I could just chuck them on, and the benefit was that you still had the pockets available on the outside, you had the rear pocket here, and also you had a bit more coverage on your kidneys and stuff, just trapping that heat in there. And that's really important. When you're tired after a few days on the road, you really need to make sure you look after yourself, and keeping warm saves energy, and it's just better for you in the long run. My warm layer was this ultra lightweight insulated jacket from Albion. This is one I've used a few times. You may have seen it before. I've actually had it modified to have a neck collar on there. Now I get really cold. I've got quite a long neck and I get a cold neck. So the guys at Albion, they can do me some custom stuff. Everything's made in everything's sort of designed and put together in the UK. And yeah, they cut this out and put an extra long collar on. It's Velcro, so basically when I get to the top of a long climb at night, I can easily just wrap that around my neck, and then I've got essentially a nice warm kind of neck gaiter. Just again, keeping heat in there, looking after myself. I found over the years that, well, when I was younger, I probably took a few more risks, but I've done so many of these things now. I just know that if I don't look after myself, I'm really going to pay for it later on. And it's little things like that that add up over time. Other stuff in here, as well as a neck gaiter, I've got a Albion merino neck warmer. Again, merino is such a great material for this kind of thing. I didn't end up using it too much, but if it was really cold, you can run that in conjunction with the jacket. That's what I used on the Silk Road mountain race last summer when it was below freezing. It's a good combination, it works for me. I've also got a set of warm gloves, probably overkill, but again, I need to look after my hands. If I get cold hands, then sometimes they can get numb, and sometimes that feeling never comes back. So you need to look after your hands. And these are Lab, I think Aeron Lab winter gloves from DHB, and they've got alpha insulation inside, so they're really warm for their weight. So I'd really recommend these. I've used them through most of the UK winter. They're great unless it's really wet. Once they get soaking wet, then they soak through and then they're useless. But if you can keep them fairly dry, they are excellent. Other things I took with me, I'm a kind of a headband guy, so I've got a windproof ear warmer. Use this a few times, just keeps the chill off, but allows the heat to kind of vent out your head. And I've also got some toe warmers. I wasn't sure what the temperature would be at night, so I chucked these in. These are like Windstopper soft shell ones from Gore. Had them for years and years. They weigh nothing, they fold up into nothing, so it's kind of a no-brainer. I'd rather have slightly warmer toes and carry 15 grams worth of material than be cold. I also had some other bits and pieces in here, so a bag of various charging cables. I kept those in there. I also had some toilet tissues, because in 2022 I went through a lot of toilet tissues, not so much this year, but yeah, you need to look after yourself, and yeah, having a clean bum is part of that. As well as the toilet tissues, I've got some food. Now I carried a lot of Sturker bars with me at the start, and in the end I didn't get through as many as I thought, so I've probably got another 6 bars left over, which I didn't eat. So I basically carried them around with me for nothing. But I had a few stomach issues early on, and I found these were a little bit too rich. And in the end, it was quite hot, so I could only eat these during the early morning. There's a lot of carbs in them. So yeah, it was a bit too much for my stomach to handle. It wasn't really, like performance-wise, it wasn't my best performance, and I was struggling a bit with that. But it's better to carry food and not eat it than not carry food and then need it. So yeah, so that's what was in there as well. Now onto the lower section of my frame bag, and this is where I kept a lot of my tools and spares. It's the kind of the pocket you don't really want to have to go into. If you're going into it, it means something has probably gone wrong. So let's have a little look, see what I've got in here. Now I've got this toolkit in this lovely waterproof bag that's got more holes in it than it has waterproof sections now. I should probably sort that out, but this bag has done a lot of trips. I've probably used it for 10 years. So in here I've got everything I'll need. Spare hanger, I've got a penknife, I've got spare brake pads, I've got a pair of pliers, chain link tool, a spare cleat, really important, spare bolts, things like that, things that I'm not going to need firsthand, and you can afford to have them buried away a little bit. I've also got a small tube of sealant. Again, Atlas is quite a rocky course. If you cut a tyre and have to stitch it up, or you lose a load of sealant, you want to be able to top it up. So I just took one of these little, these are 60mm tube of, it's a Schwalbe Dock Blue sealant. It's essentially stand sealant. That was in there. My trusty Albion bag. Now resupplies on the Atlas Mountain Race, they're not that plentiful, but other races you want to carry a bit more food at times. So I always have that just stuffed in there. It's easy to get to. Then I've got 2 inner tubes in here and a pump. So the pump is just stuck in the top here. As you can see, very easy to get to. Where are we? There we go. Got my pump, a little Crank Brothers pump with some tape wrapped around it, electrical tape and duct tape. You never know when you need to stick stuff up, so always good to have that on your pump. And then I've got 2 inner tubes in there. On to the top tube bag. Now, as you can see, there's loads of rubbish hanging out of it. I did start with some chlorine tablets in the side here. You don't really want to be drinking tap water from Morocco with your nice weak Western stomach. So yeah, if I ever had to use tap water or from a village fountain, I just drop some chlorine in there just in case. It's not worth getting in on one of these races because it's tough enough as it is. I also had my lip balm in here. I have that in the front. Again, riding the desert, the sun's quite intense, it's really dry, the wind dries you out. So yeah, always put your lip balm on, and this is SP50 as well. And then inside the bag, this is things I need sort of quite quickly firsthand. Obviously important things like my camera, my good old, it's an Olympus Nanzol camera, so hopefully I'll have some good little shots once I get them back from the lab. I've also got some lube. I use Squirt lube, it's wax based, really good on the Atlas mountain race because it's really dry. As you can see, my chain's pretty clean, so yeah, I probably put it on once, maybe twice a day, and that worked really well. These little pots are very convenient. There's still probably enough for a day or two's riding in there, so yeah, it works really well. I've got a little box here. This is just odds and sods. It's a punch repair patch box, and I've got like safety pins, I've got spare bolts for my tail fin rack, I've got patches, I've got valve cores, you know, I've got all the little things that you don't want to use, but if you drop them in the desert you're not going to find, so you need to have something like that with you. I've got a Lezyne multi-tool, just you got to check that it fits all the bolts before you go away, but yeah, this worked really well for me. I've got my little folding toothbrush in here and a little mini toothpaste. I just pick these up at the airport before I travel, and that'll get you through a week's worth of riding. Also in here I've got a Dyna plug. So the Dyna plug, I keep it in there so it's quick access, so if you do get a cut you can like plug it straight away so you don't lose so much air, and it's sealant. I've got some vulcanizing rubber glue, again that's to secure the Dyna plugs into the tyre. And then I've got my sort of toiletries, sunscreen, obviously essential, even if you're not in the desert, if you put sunscreen on you're going to stop yourself getting burnt, and you know, getting sunburnt just wastes energy, so again you've got to look after yourself in these races. I've got pseudo creme. Didn't actually have to use it, but if you do need to use it, it probably means you've got a sore bum. Also really good if you've got trench foot, rubbing that in there really kind of like helps heal that up a little bit. And then I've got some hand sanitizer. Some of the toilet facilities on the Atlas Mountain Race aren't necessarily the best, so yeah, always take hand sanitizer, always wash your hands before you eat food. You run down, you're tired, just give yourself a fighting chance not to get ill, wash your hands before you eat food. And so we get onto the final bag on my bike, and in here on this fancy tail fin prototype, it's my sleeping system. Now as you can see, there's quite a cool little mesh pocket on top. I started with a load of food in here, and I've actually got another item of clothing. This is my fancy custom sun hat. Actually my mum made it. I basically cut the top out of a racing cap, put a bit of base layer on the back, and I wear that when it's just really intense heat. I used it on the last day of the race because we were on some tarmac climbs, going really slowly in the heat of the day, and again it just helps you to like keep the heat off and not get burnt. I've also got some food in here. What's that? Some kind of like sandwichy type thing, cakey sandwichy type thing. I actually carried a couple of freeze-dried meals. This one I didn't actually eat, but I ate one at the start of the first day. 1,000 calories in a tank, that like did wonders for me. Another cake and a couple more Sturker bars. So yeah, I was definitely carrying enough food for the event. And then in the main pocket, it's my sleeping system. Now I decided to just take a sleeping bag, a roll mat, and a ground sheet. I used a bivvy last time, but to be honest it's so dry and warm you can just sleep out in the sleeping bag, so I took a slightly warmer sleeping bag than I would usually. So first off, that is my Neo Air sleeping mat. Used this for years. This is a 3/4 length one, and it works really well. I also have a rain jacket in here. Now if you don't take a rain jacket on a race, you know it's going to rain, even if it is in the desert. So I took, this is the Albion Pertex Shield jacket. I didn't actually wear it, but if it was super cold, I would have put it on over my insulated jacket, and that's really good for keeping you warm when you're riding. Then I had this ground sheet, it's just off my tent, a one-man tent. So what I do is I'd roll that on the floor and then basically blow my mat up on top of it, and then I had my sleeping bag just stuffed in the back here, loosely, so it wasn't packed super tightly, but yeah, it worked really well and it's quick and easy to set up. Now this sleeping bag is from Pete Hutchinson's Designed, cost an absolute fortune. It's a 0 degree one, but their stuff is just, I just find it to be the best. I think sleeping bags are an area you shouldn't really skimp on. I've also got like a 6 degree custom PhD bag, and I just find them to be really good. So yeah, this is currently inside out because I've been airing it out, but as you can see, loads of loft in it. And I was sleeping at 2 degrees. I basically take all my clothes off, get in the sleeping bag in just my merino base layer, and that allows everything to kind of air out a little bit. And then in the morning, I just pick it all up, and then you could just stuff it straight into the saddle pack without having to worry about a dry bag. So yeah, it's easier to do when you've got a nice fence to lean your bike on. Sometimes I didn't pack it amazingly, but on these races, you kind of, as you go along, you get more efficient. So I could just pack it in like this, and you know, in a minute it's gone away, and then you just put the sleeping mat and the ground sheet just in there like that, squash everything in, get the air out, and you're good to go. So that's all the gear and kit I used for the Atlas Mountain Race. Thanks for watching the video, and a big thank you to Redshift for sponsoring my Atlas Mountain Race series. If you haven't already seen the bike check, go check that out. I've got a report on there as well. I've got some more videos to come as well over the coming weeks. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe if you like this stuff, and I'll see you again in the next one.